So this is data analysis and assessment plan for AP students. I am in school getting my EDS, so this was a requirement. But whenever I have assignments, I like to make it relevant to what we're actually doing. So it's time for AP testing. Counselors, you all are my team for today, and I hate Miss Bassey couldn't be here, but I'm sure you all pass information along. But this is important because you all are our gatekeepers when it comes to students getting the AP. So thank you all for coming. That's why I thought it was so relevant for us to talk about it since we're doing registrations at this time. So we're going to start with introductions. We already know each other, Ms. McCants, but like I said, you all are my team for today. While I am presenting, I want you to use this KWL chart. You might know what a KWL chart is or understand.
Yeah. What I know, what I want to know.
Right.
What I learn.
Right. So that's what we're going to use for note taking. So the topic again is data analysis and assessment plan, and I would like to keep these when you're done because I do want to address what you want to know. And from what we talk about, I want to know what you learned and also what you already knew about this. So before we start talking about the actual data that I have, I want you to jot down just 2 or 3 things that you already know about AP data. 2 or 3 things that you already know about the data. Now, you don't have to share, but sometimes when we're given assignments, something is just too good to not share with anyone else. So does anyone have something they just gotta say, this is what I know?
I know that our AP numbers have continually increased over the last few years, which is super exciting and wonderful for our students.
Good.
That was one of mine. My only other one that I know, so you're going to teach me so much, is that disproportionality does exist in our race and ethnicity enrollment in AP. So I think we know that that's an area of focus for us.
You want to share anything this morning? No. Okay. So handouts. These are our enrollment goals. I don't know if you've seen this, Ms. Muhammad, but I'm glad you're here so I can share this with you. These are our enrollment goals for the year, for next year. So we're going to come back and revisit this when we come back from school August, because you know those numbers will probably change. So our enrollment goal for all AP students is 1,099 enrollment. So that's not students, that's the number of AP courses. And then our goal for African American students is 273. And our goal for free and reduced lunch students is 229 exams. So where do we stand now? So as of right now, our enrollment is around 1,100. That fluctuates because we do have students that drop. But that should not change from this point. So about 1,100. 180 students that are African American. Well, actually not. Yes, that's students. So that's the enrollment. And then for free and reduced lunch, 192.
And there's no overlap with African American or Black and free and reduced.
Yes.
There's no overlap, or there is.
There is. I need to get those numbers. But yes, thank you for pointing that out. There is. There definitely is. But not as big as you think. I did look at those numbers, but there is. So you all know what advanced placement is, but I just wanted to go over this It is accredited. It comes from College Board, the same place that we get our PSAT from, SAT. I mean, they're making money. Let's be honest with you. They're making lots of money from this AP program, and there are reasons for that. I am a personal supporter of it, so it's not just because our district pushes it, but I believe in the program myself. We offer 18 AP courses here, but there are a total of 38 that could be offered, possibly. So more than half, I think that's more than half. That's good that we offer as many courses as we do. We do offer the most courses in the county. Okay, so we offer 18. I think Buckhorn may offer 11 or 12, but we are leading when it comes to the different types of AP courses that we offer. So the AP schedule, it's 2 weeks, okay, and it starts May 6th and it ends Friday, May 17th. So it's 2 weeks from Monday to Friday. And we're going to be giving exams at Willowbrook Church. So we'll be off campus. But most of the time it's going to be 2 exams a day, one starting at 8, another starting at 12. I will go ahead and tell you one of my areas of concern is testing those students with accommodations. Last year we probably had about 6 students. At this time we have about 20 students that have requested accommodations. So they get extended time. So if an exam starts at 12, the average time is 3.5 hours for an exam. That's a long time to be at the church and off campus. And that's another reason why we had it off campus, which worked great last year, because we have to worry about turning our bells. You have to worry about traffic. They have to be here early anyway because it starts at 8. So just get them, out of this environment and focus on the test. I think that helped. That helped a lot. So that's what AP is. The benefits of it, you all already know this, but I just wanted to reiterate that it stands out on college applications. And I think what's really important to students is that they get to skip those introductory courses. They get college credit. It saves parents a lot of money, a lot of time and a lot of money, because who wouldn't want to spend $94 to take one exam to get a credit hour that could be thousands of dollars, depending on the university. And then also AP students learn essential time management and study skills. Did you all take AP courses when you were in? And they didn't offer it at my school. They did. I know I would have done better in college because of the rigor that was introduced. So what we are trying to do and what you all are doing is encouraging students who are going to college to take at least one AP course. So they are exposed to the rigor of the course. Because we don't want them to get to college and fail, we want them to succeed. And even if they don't plan on going to college, it needs to be an option for them. They need to be exposed to it because they could change their mind. So again, why? We talked about the district goals. So this is something that is encouraged by the district. Our superintendent, Matt Massey, he is huge on AP. I could understand why. It is also a component that we're graded on to be a U.S. News and Weekly School of Excellence. They look at what's your rigor, and they measure that rigor by the number of AP courses that we offer. So that's one reason. And another reason we've already talked about why AP placement, advanced placement. But bridging the gaps. We do need to bridge the gaps, and we'll look at the data of African American students and white students and free and reduced lunch students and white students, because there is a big discrepancy. And then we've already talked about that AP schedule. So let's look at the data. So if you look at this, this shows 2015, 2016 qualifying AP scores for Sparkman. Whenever you look at data, you always want to look at the last 3 years so you can see a trend. Now, if you look at this, what's in green is the number of qualifying scores, but what's in blue is the total number of students. So you could have more qualifying scores than you could have the number of total students, because some students take 5 or 6 AP exams. Okay, I did want to point that out. But just looking at this, you still see discrepancies because you have 250 qualifying scores from white students and then 341 total white students that took the exam. But if you compare the number of qualifying scores to the total number of scores, 80% of white students had qualified, well, there were of qualifying scores from white students. There were only 8.6% of qualifying scores from African American students. Huge discrepancy. Okay, so that was for 2015 and 16, and we had a total number of 316 qualifying scores. Okay, now in 2016 and 17, and this was the year before I actually came here, we had 317 qualifying scores for white students, and then only 36 qualifying scores. The percentages were 79% and 9%. So again, that first percentage was 80% and 8.6. The second one is 79 and 9. Just think about these numbers. And then last year, which was my first year being the AP coordinator, 2017-18 school year, there were 350 qualifying scores for our white students, and then 52 for our African American students. So that percentage would be 75% and 11%. So what I noticed, and this was actually kind of right before y'all came in, I noticed that our white students are very slowly decreasing in their percentage. But, okay, they're decreasing, but it's still very good that they're getting over 75% qualifying scores. And then the African Americans are actually increasing. Very small, but it's increasing. So we went from 8.6% to 9% to 11%. So this is our focus, and not only just on African American students, but those free and reduced lunch students, which does overlap because we have some students that are African American and on free and reduced lunch. So those are some other things that we need to look at as well when we talk about our numbers. But on a positive note, the qualifying scores are increasing each year because we went from 316 qualifying scores in 2015 and 16 to actually 511 qualifying scores last year. I don't know what happened to those scores on the graph, but it was actually 511. So we're increasing with our number of qualifying scores. And last, what are we going to do about it? What are our prescriptions? What are some of the strategies that we'll use for our areas of focus? Well, we had AP Parent Night, which I thought went very well because we did it in conjunction with Curriculum Night. So we were all here. We talked about AP. You had AP teachers here, elective teachers here, and I think that next year we need to make it even bigger and better if we're going to put everything together. But I thought that it was nice, but there is some room for improvement as far as having the whole curriculum and AP night together. So, and then it has the activities and the dates, and of course, you always want to have a measurable goal, and it's going to be to increase those qualifying AP scores. And then we also have a goal. Our goal for 2018, 2019 is a total of 505 qualifying scores. We can do it because we have 511 this past year. So to get 505, I think we can do it. And again, those goals were set by the district. Okay, they use formulas for that. What else could we do for improvement? I believe personally that we need professional development on cultural awareness for faculty and staff. You do not teach a child that is from poverty and one background the same way you would a student that comes from high socioeconomic background of a different race. You just don't do that, especially when it comes specifically to students that come from poverty. Ruby Payne's A Framework for Poverty book is a great book. It has activities, and to be honest with you, before I read this book, I felt like I could relate to students who were from a poor socioeconomic background because I believe that one time I was, but compared to them, no, it's totally different, and their values are different. They value humor. They do not value education in the same way that we do. You know, from my household, middle class, it was known you were going to college. That was it. We didn't have a lot, but my parents still valued education. Well, with some students that come from poverty, they don't value that. And another thing I would like for students to learn or teachers to learn, and this is something I had to learn as well, when we have those students that come from poverty and they're very defensive, like when you try to tell them to do something, sometimes the reason that they are defensive is because they are the head of their household. Their mom, their dad, they're the ones giving the order. So for you to tell them to do something, it's like, wait a minute, nobody tells me to do anything at home. So how are you going to tell me to do something at school? So we have to come from a different angle. And I think, I know that we grasp that because you are our guidance counselors. You see these types of situations every day. But what about our teachers? They don't know. Some of them are oblivious to the fact that students only get their hot meal here for lunch. You know, they don't see what we see. So it would be very beneficial for us to have training for them for this. So I do have timelines for that, the resources. I have March 2019 as a start date because we had cultural awareness last year. I don't know if you remember, Ms. Muhammad, we had one session. But we need to incorporate this back into our PLCs. This is something that we need to talk about. And then I have an end date of August to try to get this in place and implemented before we start school. And again, our measurable outcome is that increase in AP qualifying scores. And then finally, forming a community partnership to target minority parents. Just a way to get them here, because when we have curriculum night, AP night, the parents we really need to see, they're not here. So I need help with that. We need to form a committee and figure out how do we target the parents of minority students. What gets them here? Well, I know for a fact food gets them here. So is that what it takes? Do we have to have spaghetti night? Do we have to say we'll feed you? I mean, because that is one way I know that we'll get some parents here. And when I say minority, I'm also talking about parents that students have free and reduced lunch, the lower socioeconomic. But we're not seeing the parents we need to see. So how do we reach out to them? So we need a committee for that. And then that will be an ongoing activity that I hope that we can start in September of 2019. Okay? And that's it. I just want to go over this data with you all. If you could, go ahead and fill out the last two columns, and then I will get that before you leave. Thank you.